founder of Scrapely, a Twitter automation tool, and I'm building both the software and the agency with mostly just by myself right now. And yeah, I'm starting out on Twitter and this, and I'm basically sort of like documenting on my YouTube and Twitter what I've learned with cold outreach and Twitter, but also just building a business at the same time in the B2B space. So that would be my introduction.
How long ago did you start working on Scrapely?
I want to say it's been 7 or 8 weeks now, so pretty much 2 months. Yeah.
So just guide me through the thought process because there are like a lot of tools in the same space as you, like
hmm
XReacher, Drippy, Goldiem Pro. So
Yeah.
what was like the thing which made you think that I could go into this market and I can build something which would genuinely like demolish the competition and I can steal the users and everything. So what was
Of
like the
course.
thought
Yeah. So
process?
there were a few things. Number one is that I've been coding on and off ever since I was like 6. I've done some coding competitions and stuff, like some things. So I've always liked coding and chess and stuff like that. Um, and then when I went into business about I don't know a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I tried some of the cold DM tools for different things that I was doing, and I didn't find them to be like really great, and I didn't get great results with them. And then I was like, okay, well, like, maybe I should try and like do it manually instead of in a tool. So I've sent out probably like five, like I still have like my old manual tracker, probably 5 or 10,000 messages on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, like everything, just manually. And that was that sucked because like obviously I got clients here, but it took so long and I was still in school at that time doing it manually. It was horrible. So then I looked into softwares and different things, and I think I met this other guy who I knew from this group online, and he started a SaaS as well, and he didn't even know how to code, and like he just said like, oh yeah, like if you have like a past problem that like you could solve or like you were doing it manually, just try and like make a SaaS out of it. And I was like, okay. And then I checked out Drippy and XReacher because I've used Drippy, XReacher, ColdDM's Pro, 3DM, like almost every single software out there for both Twitter and Instagram outreach, like almost every single one of them that right? And I didn't find them to be like super great. Like XReacher had no personalization, and then Drippy, like you couldn't actually like scrape a lot of data that I wanted, and it was like super expensive for what that they were giving you with not like I don't know. Like I like that you could track replies in them, but you couldn't get a lot of like user data that you could if you were manually scraping, like going through comments or stuff like that. So I do still think that Drippy has some good stuff, but it's like it's still I would say like the best out of the competition in like my opinion. And then XReacher, Cold DMs Pro, I didn't really like them that much, so that's why I started making Scrapely.
You use Cursor and all for vibe coding it.
Cursor, yeah, I mean sort of like not really vibe coding because like I know how to code, but stuff like design, I'm not a designer at all. Or like the landing page, I'm not good at that at all. So I would do stuff in like Lovable where I would take screenshots of UIs that I liked from Stripe dashboard or different things. I'd say make the button like this or do it like that because the design I have absolutely no clue, right? And at the start too, like when I was making it, I like I wasn't the most like obviously I had coded in the past, but before this it had been probably like a year or two since I've even like opened up VS Code and stuff. Like the last time that I coded before making Scrapely, there was no cursor or like anything. So like it was like probably 2 3 years ago maybe. So it took me a little bit to get back into it, but then I did, and it like like it's like a
Muscle
muscle
memory.
memory. Yeah, 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 where you like get back into it, and then in like a few weeks, I was like flowing into it. It was awesome. So yeah, lots of stuff happened.
When you mentioned that you started in the business space like a year ago, you started with
Mhm.
an agency?
No, so I started things like I was just trying out stuff like school communities, things like like probably like the coaching that they do in like school communities, helping other communities just like that. So it was kind of like all over the place, but I was doing outreach throughout it. So I wanted to like go further with it. I tried different tools, manual. That's kind of how I came on like Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram outreach.
No, I mean like what were you trying to sell when you were reaching out to these people?
Yeah, so some like I had like a lot of like things that I was trying and like at the time just to get like people to like like sign up, which was
Mm-hmm.
stuff like health coaching, school community growing. There was like a few of them. I must have like different like I made different little like Stripe accounts for like each one of them, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. But I really like tried like probably five or six different things. Productivity, yeah, but there was like at least four or five. Yeah, I just tried a bunch of different things.
I think the enterprise plan which you have on Scrapely, that's basically you manage the outreach for these people.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's say you were starting over and you had to choose between agency and SaaS. Which route would you go into?
Um, I'm probably not the most qualified to
Because
say,
I'm
but like,
confused as well right now, man.
yeah,
Which
I
path to
mean,
go?
I would say I know because I've talked to other guys, like the guy who got me into the idea of software, and like I could actually make one. He doesn't know how to code, but he hired people to help him code because what he did a recruiting agency on LinkedIn. So he was doing the service manually himself and with VAs and stuff at the start. So he started as like an agency. He then said, "Oh, I can kind of automate this and you know make it more scalable with software because it works with done for you service kind of stuff. Why won't people just pay for it?" But his idea was like, let me like productize it or like systemize it into a software. And with the money from his agency, he then hired developers to make the software. So I think if you don't know how to code, like you could vibe code it, but I don't think it's at the point right now, like Lovable and those things, where you can 100% make it vibe coded and like not have any dev support. Because I'm sure people will pay for it, but like after a while, it's going to get hard if you have no coding skills at all, right? So
Hmm. What's the percentage of your revenue in terms of agency versus SaaS right now?
I would say, well, right now, since there's not as many users in the software, I would just say the agency, just because like as I said, like in our chat, right? It's much easier to get cash flow in with the agency versus like software, although it's scalable, obviously, right? So I would definitely say, yeah, probably 70% plus is from the agency right now. Just because I'm onboarding clients, and when they do, it's like a one-time fee and stuff, and the one-time fee like spikes up like the revenue because it takes time to set up and money to like set up. So because of that, I get like a very fast cash injection for very little work.
And the service you're selling is outbound systems.
Yeah, so just so for right now, it's just for Twitter. Obviously, it's done using my software and a few other tools that I've been using and some scripts that I've put together because to manage that many accounts, I have like a few external things. But yeah, it's like mostly just me managing it with the software. The good thing is that for like mass accounts, I don't need to outsource to like a VA yet, just because it's all automated, obviously. So it makes it much easier for me.
So you use VPS and all of that stuff as well to
Yeah,
manage these
so
accounts.
yeah, so proxies, like there's like like I think like the X Reacher guys put out like five different tutorials, just how to like set it up from like A to Z. Obviously, like you plug in his software, but it's pretty much similar to that. I have some differences, but yeah, I mean like like you were set up IPs, proxies, different things for that.
Where do most of your customers from Scrapely come from? Outbound?
Yeah, just Twitter outbound. Yeah.
And let's say I have a company and I come to you. I ask you for help with outbound and everything. Why would you suggest me Twitter outbound compared to like emails, WhatsApp, SMS? So like I'm trying to
Okay.
understand like why did you
Yeah.
end up the Twitter route?
Yeah, I would say because Twitter, first of all, there's very few people doing it, like Twitter outbound. That's like actually like works. And then second of all, well, there's like a few reasons, but first of all, that second of all, almost everybody checks like their Twitter inboxes or something versus email. It might get screened. And then third of all is like everybody can use Clay with like email to make it super personalized, right? But when you see that on Twitter or Instagram and it's personalized to you a lot to your website or different things, it's very new, right? So it like breaks the mold. And that's why I think it's just as good as LinkedIn, where you can send out more volume and people just don't expect it to be personalized versus like a LinkedIn tool that can make it very personalized. They're like, oh yeah, well I already know about that, right? Versus Twitter outreach, almost nobody knows that that's even a thing, right? So,
Hmm. I'm unable to understand, like, I think you have the functionality where you can go to the website and scrape it and then you can personalize it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're using something like Firecrawl or something. So how do you keep it so affordable for
Well,
$48 a month? Like, don't the API usage fees and everything go up?
well, affordable compared to what, like the competitors or just other, tools
Like,
for
let's
other.
say XReach or Drippy, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, they just incentivize you to either buy like they're done for you, or in X Features case, they just incentivize you to buy a bunch of accounts. The problem with that, from what I've heard, this is not me saying this, right? Because I have not bought 50 accounts on X Feature, but they say that you have to then set up your own VPS and different things. So it's like it's not a really plug and play software, which is like what people want, right? Versus with my software, it is a lot more plug and play. Like I onboarded a guy yesterday for the free trial. I just like sent him over like the link because I just added the free trial too, and he got his first DM sent out in like 5 minutes or something, just because he got the account, he connected it, boom, boom, boom. It was very fast, right? So that's definitely if you look at like my price versus theirs, I guess it looks cheaper, but that's just because they're like most people are comparing my single account price to their single account price. But when you go at scale, obviously they will give you like stupid amounts of discounts because they can, because Xfuture doesn't use AI. So obviously, like all that they're doing is scraping. Like extracting like the first name costs nothing. It's literally free. Whatever that they'll tell you, it is free, right? It's so easy to do that. Now you can't personalize with that. So all that they're basically like all that you're paying for, like the arbitrage is like them scraping. That's it, right? Obviously, like the lead list looks cool and stuff, but it's just them scraping. Drippy does a bit more, which is why Drippy is more expensive than Xreacher. So anytime that you add AI, it will just add costs, especially if you want the AI to be good, like the website scraping, the tweet scraping, blah blah blah, right?
Do these softwares, like, do you use the Twitter API or do you do it like
No,
manually?
no. I mean, if you've looked at the Twitter API
Of
pricing,
course.
everybody will like tell you it is stupid expensive. So either you reverse engineer the API, which is what I'm 99.9% sure is what most people are doing, right? And I use a combination for some things, and then or you can get an external API. Those are still pretty cheap to actually get, right? It's like the same thing for any LinkedIn tool or Instagram tool or whatever. You would probably get an API for them because most other platforms other than Twitter are pretty lenient on their API and like they will let you use it for cheap or something, right? Now, Twitter is expensive, but reverse engineering that is not like rocket science, you know? So you can just do that. And then obviously it's not like legal, but like people
Because I
definitely do
built
that.
an X outreach tool and I was looking at the API usage and I was like, how the fuck do you even stay profitable on this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I know for sure XFuture. I mean, the thing is with like API like providers, they're very happy to give you like 50, 75% off if you just ask like I'm going to use this a lot, right? Which is why like most of them are like pretty cheap and or they will just like reverse engineer it themselves, which still costs money, but it's just much cheaper, right? Although it's not as like long-term maintainable because Twitter will shut down those endpoints for you, right?
So I wanted to ask you something.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but when I was working on Leadwave, the new SaaS and everything, there were moments when you just run into a fucking brick wall and you don't know how to like solve this freaking problem. So I'm sure you've had problems like that. How do you get rid of them?
Are you a coder or are you like using Cursor for it?
Like, just in general. So in business,
Hmm.
when you run into a brick wall and you don't know how the fuck do you solve this problem, I'm sure you ran into some of them when you were making this. How do you
Yeah.
overcome them?
Yeah, there was one part when, well, there was multiple parts like this. But one thing that helped me is like I have this like a whiteboard, like this actual whiteboard. So like what I would do, I would map out like how the database works or blah blah blah, or like however like the DMs will get queued or whatever. I'll map it out on an actual like whiteboard. And you really have to have like the engineering mind of like your first solution will like not work, and then you still have to try it. And yeah, I think breaking down onto like the whiteboard, being able to visualize like what is the problem, what is the solution, And then once that you know where that like the bug is or the problem is in the code, and you have like an actual solution of like this is how it will look in the database or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you know where like the problem is, that's like half of like the battle in coding, right? You just need to know like where it is because sometimes it will like throw you some crazy error logs. Like every coder knows this, where it's like I don't know, like trace error, blah 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 blah, blah, and it's like a mass like jargon of like this big of like a blob of like nothing. And you're like, well, where is the error? So when you find it, then I would say it's much easier to solve. So find the error and like map out what the problem is or what that you're trying to do on paper or like in real life.
You sound a lot like Sam Owens, man. Do
Really?
you watch him?
I've I've never watched. I mean, I've watched like maybe one like intro TED
Uh-huh.
talk of it. Yeah, no. What?
You know the way you look at problems and solutions.
Oh, okay.
Mm. Can you guide me through an ideal or like a average day in your life? Like where do you spend most of your times? Now that the beta version of the software, everything is ready.
Yeah, I mean, n number one, you wake up, you check like the outbound messages, like the replies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, like you track down like the replies, positive replies, blah blah blah. At that point, I might change the campaign. I might leave it as it is. I might add personalization into the campaign. Do this or that. And then normally, my first like work block, I'd say, is it depends because if I'm like onboarding somebody, like setting up the done for you for that person, it normally takes priority, right? Unless there is like an absolute bug in the software that does not work. Like for example, if there was a free trial bug where somebody pays like or like enters their credit card, clicks submit for the free trial, it doesn't work. Obviously, I have to fix that because that's kind of more urgent for me. But it's just like putting out the fire that is like the most important, right? Then at that point, I'll start working on like the done for you. So either delivering for them, or if all of that is said, I just check up on the campaigns. Number two is obviously like sending out my own messages, which are like Dream 100 kind of messages, where like personalized looms. I make them like a doc that's super valuable, blah blah blah. I'm trying to like get those out more because it's like going to like the gym. Like the first session always sucks. Same like the first few looms, it always sucks. Like you're in front of like the camera, you're like, are they gonna like this? Does this work? Blah blah blah. And like some people are like, oh, like screw off, or like whatever. But a lot of people actually like are interested in like they book calls for it and stuff like that. So I also do manual outreach just like that because it's so highly personalized, it does work. So it's like you don't have to do one or the other, in my opinion. So I'll do that, and then let me have like my calendar open. Probably like go
I just
gym.
want to
Uh,
like interrupt you once.
uh,
What like reply rates do you see on the personalized looms?
on the personalized looms, I'd say about 50, so like 50 to 70% of them get seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, either people just like say like, where's your calendar or like book me in, or like I don't know, 10 or 20% of like that total will say like, oh, like I don't need this or like screw off or like whatever. But a lot of them like they won't even ask additional questions. They'll just ask for like the calendar. So I think that that's a good sign because then obviously people are interested. So that's what I normally get.
So you don't add the calendar link in the loop.
No. So, well, I'll normally have it on the dock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere where like they can book. I also say like, hey, let me know if you want, this week, next week, whatever. We can set this up for you. And then they're like, yeah, sure. And then, they'll just ask for my calendar, or sometimes they'll even give me their calendar to book on.
Hmm. Continue, please. Sorry to
Yeah, yeah.
interrupt. Mm-hmm.
No, no, of course. And then normally I've been playing around with like gym early morning or gym like in like the afternoon. So normally I'll go gym at least like once a day. I pretty much go every day. If it's not gym, I'll do something to like get outside. Come back. What else? Oh yeah, stuff like yeah, that's on my calendar. Stuff like commenting on posts. I'll do like 10, 20 minutes a day, brainstorming up like my new posts on Twitter because like that also sometimes brings me in like giveaways or stuff like that. That sometimes helps. So I'll normally do that for like an hour ish, an hour and a half, and then from there, well yeah, other content stuff like YouTube. That's also on like my calendar. Trying to do at least once or twice a week just to get it out there because it definitely helps before calls. And then from there, like the end of my day, I'll either have calls at the end or at like the start of my day after like that first block normally like either like, I mean, not like calls like this, but like setup calls, sales calls, blah, blah, blah. And then, depending on the day, I will try and split it up, which I learned from one of my first customers for my SaaS. He was like, he has like a marketing week and a coding week. I'm like, maybe I cannot do that because like there are stuff like almost every day, but I try and do like marketing day, coding day, right? So maybe like alternating them, or maybe like two marketing days and like one coding day, depending on what's needed, right? Because that focus is really important.
A selfish question I have for you.
Hmm.
Like, we tend to stay in the loop that we constantly have to improve the product. So I just want to know, like, you already built a decent product. So when you say you have coding days, like, what exactly do you work on if everything is fine already?
Yeah, so I would say, well, first of all, there are like normally some bugs, but they get fixed pretty fast. Things like that I would consider myself, because I probably use like my product the most, just because like it's my product and I like use it every single day. So things like that, I think, first of all, some like either sometimes done for you people ask for it, or like the software customers ask for it, and I'll get like three, four of those in like a week. I'm like, okay, like they want that feature or something. And then also on the coding days, like it might be, I used to have a lead magnet. So you could consider that like marketing, but it took me a little bit of time to make that lead magnet, and it was coding. So I put it into like coding days. That I did over vacation, like when I was like messaging you like on like the Loom, I made that lead magnet and I put that into like coding days, right? Or things that are like technical, like setting up an email list or email domains or stuff like that, I would put into like coding, I feel, because it's like very, very technical. So at least for me, like that was not like the easiest thing to do, right? So
Hmm. How do you get rid of the problem thinking your product is never good enough? Because
um
I definitely go through that, man.
yeah, I mean, I think it, I mean, the best thing for me is that I use my own product, so I never have to look at competitors and say, oh, they have this feature, they have this, blah, 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 because I want to make the product really good for obviously the users, but also for me. Like that's where I started this, and I was like, oh, obviously I can make money with this, like, so it's great to do that. But I compare it to like what I want the product to like be, right? Like super polished, not only just like looks good, but like there are features that like you would only know because you use the product like 60 days in a row straight, right? So like for
Could you give
me,
me the example
mhm,
of the most recent thing which you developed in one of the coding days, a feature which was maybe
yeah,
requested by a person or a user?
I mean, easily free trial, that was requested a lot. So I did that specifically, like not giving them like a bunch, like all of the credits at the start for like the first 3 days, stuff like that. Another thing that I added, pretty like probably the most recent before that, was you can preview your AI messages. So you can basically, you might have seen this on the page. I don't know if it's on there yet, but you can input in like a dummy profile with like example names, like like I can put like Elon Musk with his description, like whatever, and then like his website, right? And then you can test it out in the actual dashboard, saying like, hey, insert first name, I love blah, blah, blah. And then you can test out your AI message before that you send it. I know that Drippy has this, but I liked it because like you could actually input like any description or any name or any website, and then test if it would like work for that website or something, right? So to test for like edge cases, which I found useful because sometimes it wouldn't get like the first name all the time, or the complement would be too much. So that was my way of like, this AI needs to be good personalization before I can send it to like the whole lead list, right?
Hmm. I think your strategy for getting users is the lead magnet, the lead list of the
Yeah, so
person's
I
ICP.
used to do that, and then now I don't. I might restart it, but I'm trying with like the looms. So like the like personalized looms, or like the docs. I'm like, hey, I have this like loom that like breaks down like how that you could use Twitter for getting more clients, like without posting content, or without cold email or whatever. People are interested because it's not cold email, it's not content. So they're like, what is this guy talking about? and then I talk to them on the Loom or in the doc, and that's been working pretty well so far.
So you just send out that message, and when people respond positively, then you film it out.
Yeah. So it's either like I'm testing like doc or Loom or like maybe just like a straight up call because I've gotten a lot of done for you meetings booked from just like a straight up like call pitch. I might have sent that to you. I don't know. I mean, I sent you
List.
the like lead magnet. Yeah,
Yep.
that one. Yeah. That one got a lot of positive replies. The only thing was that not most of them were not interested in like the software, like the done for you. They just went like the leads. I still got them on like my email list, so I guess that's cool. But like, I'm not here to capture emails. I'm here to like book calls. So yeah.
Uh, how long ago did you start the free trial thing?
Probably yesterday. Yeah, I just added yesterday. Yeah,
And how long is the trial?
3 days.
What do you think is like just asking this for myself for my reference? Like let's say 10 people sign up for the trial. What's a good number? That if these many people convert, that's good.
I asked ChatGPT. It said 20 to 30% should convert
Uh huh.
on the free trial. I think it can increase if you talk to them on a call, like as they set up the trial or something. Maybe that can increase it. I don't know though. I'm guessing 20 to 30 optimistically.
Do you think having a call for a low ticket $50 $100 product worth it?
No, I don't think. I think if churn is really bad, which maybe I mean I don't have enough data yet, but
Hmm.
I've just heard like two things like activation, so like getting them activated, like knowing like how to like click the buttons. Which one thing for me is that I added a lot of like like I call them like feedback buttons or whatever, where you click on the button, it gives you like a notification like, oh, this worked, oh, this didn't work, oh, we're processing this, oh, like wait for like 50 seconds or something, right? That way people are not like, mad when like nothing happens. Which obviously like like these are things that you only know when you talk to the users. Because for me, obviously, when I'm using my product, I know that when I click send this or start AI or whatever, that it's going to do that because I just know, right? But if there's no feedback, and obviously people don't know, it sounds so obvious, but I was just missing that completely. So I added that, and people know a lot better, like how to start a campaign very easily.
Oh. So let's say someone goes to your website, they sign up for the free trial, and then they become a paying customer. If you don't go on a call with them, how do you collect feedback?
I mean, normally I'll probably message them on Twitter or on email, just because it's not like I need to get onto a call, but I would really like to have feedback. I'm gonna probably add like a feedback form or like a feedback something on like every single page, so that way people know like, oh, if there's ever a problem, like they'll just like submit it, I'll check it up. But I think a feedback form, and just I'll be asking them on Twitter like, do you like the design? Do you like this? Like how, like like what feature do you want? And then I'll have like a little like feature request list of the frequency that it's been asked, but also like the type of user, because I've gone like a bunch of like video editors who are making like $200 a month, who are like, asking for like certain things, but they're not like the highest value customers versus like other customers who are making more money or scaling with more accounts are asking for different features, right?
Just like I'm sure you've run like a lot of outbound campaigns, probably sent hundreds and thousands of messages. What's a better approach, like a direct pitch or a lead magnet, or trying to build rapport?
I tried the report thing manually. That was hell. That was horrible. So from my experience, it did not work. Every outreach person will like tell you something different, I think. For me, it depends on like the offer and different things. I know that for a client that I'm onboarding right now, he said like his is just like a direct pitch to either like his like Telegram or his actual like website offer, and we're gonna try that because we're just gonna like scale like the volume on that. But for some people, like let's say like a done for you versus his is more like a course purchase, right? Or maybe like a done for you, it might be better to do like, hey, can I send over something free, a lead list or whatever, right? Because I know that worked well for me, right? Now, is it just because I'm using my own software to promote my software? Maybe. But I think for most done for you offers, like for a design agency that I was talking to, I was like, hey, like you can use like the website personalization, saying, hey, I saw blah 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 about like your website H1 or something, and how it could be optimized for, design, or some SEO agency could say like, hey, I saw that blah 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 part could have been optimized for SEO with Scrapely, right? Which works really well because it sounds like you're like diagnosing a problem, but it's at scale, so you can do it like so much volume with that, which is awesome.
So if you had to choose one, like lead magnet or direct pitch for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'd say lead magnet, just because with the lead magnet it can be so many different things versus like
Mm-hmm.
it can be like a free lead list, an audit, a loom, a doc, whatever. And then in the lead magnet you can then pitch the living hell out of them and they'll be fine with that, right? Like if you're like on the loom and then like at the end you're like, hey, can hop on a call, like no credit card needed, whatever, I can just show you how that we would do this, blah blah blah, right? So many people will like hop on, and like there'll be so many more people open to like the lead magnet, like a massive funnel. And a lot of people will say yes to like the call if you claim it as like no risk or whatever. The amount of calls that you will get, they'll still be really qualified, but you'll get a lot more calls.
I think the reason your lead magnet messages work well was because you genuinely had a good lead magnet. You reached out to Shad, I think, who told me about you firsthand. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in the YouTube video editing space. So, the lead magnets which I receive on Twitter are thumbnails which are made with ChatGPT, the new image generation thing. So, how do you come up with good lead magnet ideas? And could you just give some examples of lead magnets which have worked really well in outreach?
Yeah, yeah. So number one, I would say is that it has to be personalized. So like you cannot give away like I think maybe like a year or two ago you could just like send out like docs where it's like, here's my lead magnet on scaling from 0 to 10K with your agency or something, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was like zero personalization at all. Anybody could like read the doc and it would apply to like millions of people. That I don't think that works today. What like the reason why like those looms work so well is one, like you took time out of there, or like you took like your time and effort to make it, and it's personalized, right? Now the thing is, if you can do this with software where it's like it looks like you took a lot of time, aka like my lead list, it looks like I took a lot of time to make those 1,000 leads. In fact, it did not, obviously, because it's software, right? And number two, it was personalized. So it was like for their offer or their ICP that they're targeting. So it felt personalized both like in the message and the lead magnet. So if you can make it at least look like you took a lot of time in the lead magnet, like maybe your Notion doc looks really good, you template it so it always looks good in every, Notion doc, and it also like is personalized to them, then I think that that's really good. Also, if you want to go like above and beyond, then like you send the resource in the first message. But now not everybody will do that, and then you have to make a resource for everybody, so it's a bit tough, right?
Could you give some examples of lead magnets
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
which
Yeah.
would work
Sorry.
well?
Well, obviously mine. One that I got from this ghostwriter guy that was pretty good. Is he basically like he already like sent like the video before, like asked like, oh, should I send like the video or something? And in the video, he not only broke down like my content and what I could do better, but specifically like types of posts that like he would make where it's like, oh, like I saw like you've only been posting like this kind of content, but you should actually add like your story behind it. And here's how I would do it. 3 examples of the story. And he also showed not only examples of it, but why that those formats would work, because he showed other creators that have like gone viral with those posts. So like do well. So he basically said, here's your content. Here's a template that would actually work better and convert more people. And here's why that content template works, because like it's been used before. So then it like made me really like interested in like working with him and the content. So that also worked really well.
Do you have an example of something which can be replicated on scale without human effort? Something similar to
Mm.
yours?
Well, okay. For like what kind of service? I
Eh,
I think there,
mhm.
there are some, like I know things for websites. like I recently just checked like my website's SEO score and speed and stuff like that. So if you sell an SEO audit or whatever, or speed test for your website, conversion test, etc., you like you can say, hey, we checked out um Scrapely.co's SEO performance, and you got a 89 or a 90 or like 10 or whatever, right? And you could do that at scale if I mean, like the code is there to like do it where like you do it for every single person. If it's cheap, that could work really well. Like you show like a screenshot attached, like, hey, this is your score, and
Goa
it's like,
level does that, right?
huh?
Goa level does that, right?
Does it? Well, I mean, like speed test, yeah, probably. But like maybe you can make yours better, where it's like not only like an SEO or like a speed test, but how you would improve it for SEO. Like, hey, like we rewrote your blog post in February, or like your most recent blog post. Is it fine if I send it here? So that would be like a really good lead magnet, I feel. If your actual SEO is like trash, then you could send that, right?
And for this, you have to write custom code in order to work
Um,
on scale.
yes. I mean, like custom code, do you mean like code for every single lead, or like just
No,
like
no, no.
code to
Like
write?
you'll have to write the code once so that you can
Oh
deploy
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So like I mean, I'm sure there are people who know this way better than I do. I'm not like an expert programmer by any means, but you could definitely like take a screenshot of their website with code, give it to Gemini, which can process images, and like it's like multimodal, and it's pretty cheap too. You say, what are SEO mistakes or keyword mistakes, etc., from this website. It then outputs you like a list of 3 things that could improve. You then send that into a message, or you make that like into a Google Doc via Google Drive API, and you then send that link in the initial message. Probably don't send links in the initial message, but like send maybe like those 3 bullet points in that message, if that makes sense, right? And then they're like, oh wow, like that's already like free tips from them.
Hmm.
I should write that down. Holy crap, that's actually pretty smart.
What's the biggest done for you client you have? Like, what does he sell?
Yeah, so he's selling Twitter growth right now. So I mean, obviously it works really well, because it's like a Twitter growth mentorship slash coaching with like a course in it as well. And I think that there's also a done for you aspect. So it does work well because it's on Twitter and he's selling on Twitter, so it makes sense.
I've never sold something like done with you via outbound, and I don't know how that works. So, can you just guide me how it works?
Yeah, so because he doesn't really have a guarantee, it's harder than, let's say, you're selling lead gen and you're like pay per appointment, like zero risk on you. You're like, okay, well that's an easy sale. You just need like a little bit of personalization and a lot of volume. You will probably get somebody. That's literally how I did it. So I can say that that worked at least right now. But for him, he has some parts that are done for you, like the content writing, but it's still like you also like need to learn a little bit about like how to like write the content well and like your voice. So it does take time from that person, but because he like does write it, you can like kind of say that it's more done for you, I would say. From like what that we talked, like what that I saw onto his website. Now a good thing is that he has no guarantee, but he has good results on his testimonial page and stuff. So because of that, it's a lot easier when you have proof versus if it was somebody with no proof. I normally just don't work with those people because it's so hard to scale that, right?
Hmm. No, I mean, like, what does the sales process look like? You send the
Yeah,
initial message, you get a positive reply, and after that,
yeah. So our plan right now is that we're gonna send out either, so like we always test things, right? Like direct pitch versus lead magnet versus different things. He says just like blast the volume and like with like a direct pitch, and some people will like join. I'm like, yeah, sure. But we're also testing out, and we also will test out probably a lead magnet of some sort because I know because it's like personalized. Like since like we can make it personalized, like hey, like we rewrote your top 3 tweets or like some form of that thing, right? And if we added like Grok AI because Grok can go into Twitter and stuff, I have like a lot of like ideas in my mind of how that we can make an absolutely killer lead magnet. Because what if it was like, I messaged you, I'm like, hey, Sumil, I saw that your last 3 tweets got XYZ average views. I rewrote them with proven templates to get them 2x the views and like whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would land really well. And I sent you like the tweets in this message, you would probably respond, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Got it. Have you ever sold B2C using outbound?
I mean since I did productivity coaching, I did health coaching, I did a few others. I forgot again. It's been like a lot of things. I literally did try those with B2C manual outreach, and I can tell you that that was so hard. It was almost impossible. I did sign people somehow just by sheer volume. I think it was just like volume.
Mm-hmm.
But people ask me like, oh, like can I do B2C with Scrapely or this or that? I'm like, I would just rather not have you as like a client or just because it seems like it's just like running up a hill with like a 50-pound weight vest. It just sounds horrible.
How do you find leads for that, man?
For B2C,
B2C.
I mean, I know one guy who like I had a call with him last week and he wanted to sell so his thing, I got very kind of like confused, but from what I understood, he has a B2B side, which is about investors and what is it called? Like not like saving like the planet, but being like more ecologically friendly with like companies, like bigger companies being more ecologically friendly. He then has a B2C app that's about being more ecologically friendly. Obviously, that's like the ticket price is like $10 or $6 per month. It's very cheap. So what he wanted to do is scrape his competitors, which had I think it was 80,000 or like around that ballpark of followers, scrape all of them, and then hit them with a direct pitch for the app because they would be interested. He said it's a low ticket price. I'm like, yeah, sure. I just don't think that it's gonna work just because I don't see that like especially if you can show an ROI. Take it from me, who has done both B2C and now I'm doing B2B. It's so much
Much
easier
easier.
with B2B. So much easier. Like I don't understand why. Obviously, if you like B2C, you'll go for that. I'm not gonna like say like you should not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's such an easier sale to do B2B. So much easier.
How many messages do you send a day on average for the biggest client you have?
Yeah, so right now we're doing around 10 accounts. So that would be 10, and then we're also warming up a few more. So I want to say around 3 to 4,000, probably around that range. It varies on the day. So that's what we're doing. And then with accounts getting warmed up, it's going to be more, in probably a week.
What niche is he targeting?
So it's the same Twitter growth guy, and he's just helping basically like since he he wanted to do like volume, it was basically anybody with a decent following, so 500 plus followers, who was getting good engagement on their posts but not making sales because that's what he's targeting. He's like targeting people who get views but don't make money from Twitter. So think about like the guys who are like 500 to 20,000 followers who are getting enough views and eyeballs that they could monetize, but they just aren't, right? So
Mm-hmm.
kind of guys like in the personal branding space, maybe ghostwriters, maybe not them, but like think about like small business owners who are making money, who get views, but they aren't like monetizing off Twitter. So it's like an untapped channel if you want to think about it that way.
And let's take the example of a person. He comes to you and he's like, Jules, I want to send like messages from 10 different accounts, 3,000 a day. His niche is, let's say, marketing agencies. I think
Uh-huh.
there are around like 400 to 600,000 in the world, marketing agencies total. So per month, you're sending around 90,000, 100,000 messages. In 6 months, you
Yes.
would have probably reached out to everyone in the space. What do
Yes.
you do after that?
Well, depends because if you signed a bunch of clients, then like that's pretty good. Um, at that point, for marketing agencies, if you
No,
wanted
this
to
is like
expand,
just a specific example. I'm
yeah.
just asking, like,
So
what do
like,
you do when
so
you
like,
reach out to
if the
everyone?
niche is small, like, what would you do, kind of
Yep,
thing, right?
yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if the niche, this is almost like the same I've seen with like other cold email agencies. They'll either say like increase like your TAM, or like we cannot help you after a certain point because that's like the limits of like your niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like same thing with like content. Like I have a friend doing jujitsu, and his channel is about that and like helping guys with that. And his TAM is not going to be very big because there are not many people who do jujitsu and want to like level up to blue, black belt, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, his videos don't pull in like millions of views, but they still get him customers, and he signed customers from just doing YouTube, nothing else, right? So,
So let's say someone is at that stage, you'll be like, just choose a different niche.
well, well, like unless like you change the niche and we keep on sending out messages, we're just gonna like run out of TAM, right? Just because like of the sheer volume. Now, at that point though, what I would probably do is set up other what's it called? Like other marketing channels to hit them up on. So cold email, LinkedIn, Instagram, stuff like that. Because not all of the 600,000 marketing agencies are gonna respond on Twitter,
Nice.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That you can cold call, cold email, stuff like that. Just trying out different things, having like a very simple list of people that did not respond, feed them into Clay or something else, or some Instagram Finder or some scraper. Pretty easy to actually do, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just restart. There you go.
In cold email, what a lot of people do, which I've done as well. You reach out to someone, and after like 3 months, you can reach out again. So
Oh,
does
really?
that work on Twitter as well? Yeah, I just
Is that
resetting the
because of
list.
every quarter you like restart like the pipeline, or like how does that work for cold email?
Like I just change the sender name because I use the SMTP, and you just use another domain to send the email. So
Oh,
you can
okay, and
change the copy and everything. So yeah,
like Gmail like lets you do that.
I don't use Gmail. I use Amazon Says.
Oh, okay.
What do you
Okay,
use
well,
for sending the
for,
authentication emails?
oh, authentication emails. Yeah, I mean, I'm using Supabase. Just like I don't have like an SMTP right now, at least set up because I'm like not getting enough, like email verifications to like need that right now. So
But apart from that, do you do like email blasts and everything?
no, I mean, I won't send cold emails like for myself, but I'm saying like that's what we could do if we did like LinkedIn, email, Instagram, etc. I know like people do that where like if they don't respond to their connection, then they'll email them or they'll call them or whatever, and then they just like do like outbound. I'm like that would be pretty easy if we did that with Scrapely. If we ran like a really big campaign and we maxed it out, I would 100% like do that. Obviously for like an extra fee because it's not included typically.
You can sign up for Amazon Says simple email service. I think it's the cheapest one in the market. They charge you $1 for 10,000 emails,
Oh,
and you can
nice.
send like 50,000 emails a day from one domain.
Oh
So
wow.
it's very easy to change your name over there. So I just change the name and send it again.
I see. I mean, for like Twitter, like you can just like keep on sending messages. Obviously, probably don't because if they block you, then it's similar to an email sending reputation where if too many people block you, then your message will end up not even like in like the message requests, but in like if you click on message request, then go down to like
Spam
show
or yeah.
ignore block, it will pop up there. And when that happens, that's like 0% reply rate. You're never gonna get replied. Like the account is burned pretty much.
I wanted to ask you one thing. Like, you have 10 accounts for this guy. How do you verify all of them? Do you use
Yeah,
his
so
ID?
no, so we have like our own process of like verifying the accounts, but it would just simply come down to having a different credit card for each account. Because if you have one credit card for 10
Mm-hmm.
accounts, then obviously they're like gonna see that. And they don't typically ban the accounts, but they will just refund back the money and then obviously remove your blue check, right? So you need typically one credit card per account. You can normally like you can kind of do like one credit card for two accounts, but it's more safe to do one per account.
Do you have any bank or something where you can get multiple credit cards?
Yeah, I mean, like if you search up, there's a few for each kind of regions. I think that there's one for Asia. Obviously, I don't use it, but there's stuff like Bunk, Privacy.com, Revolut Business. There's like a lot of them. I know
Revolut
like
is
the
in the
Exeter.
UK?
What?
Revolut is in the UK? Like, does
I
it work
don't
there?
know. I think Revolut is for the US, but there's also other countries that it serves. I know that privacy.com is only for the US. Bunk is for Europe and Russia, Slavic countries.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that there's one for Asia, but yeah, like there's not one for everybody because obviously, like that's how credit cards work for like region. But it's yeah, it's like very easy to like make multiple. It's very cheap to do that. So yeah, but that's like one part of like the process where it's like it's so easy to mess up. When even if you like do not like know that, you would then have to like set up Bonk or Revolut or privacy.com correctly to make sure that the actual accounts don't get you know unverified by Twitter.
And you get them verified using his same ID for all 10 accounts?
No, no. So normally like the names on the like credit cards and accounts are different. So it's not actually like the client's any of his details. So we just like mask it using like Revolut or some other service.
So, how do you get it like ID verified then? Like, what
Like
ID do you use to verify it?
for what for
The
for
government
the
ID.
credit card account.
No, like if I want to get verified, they're gonna ask me my name, my image, everything, and then I have to give them
For
like a
Twitter?
permit. Yep.
Well, normally that's for LinkedIn, but for Twitter, all that you would need is phone verified and or email verified, and then obviously like you buy the verification as well. And then for the Revolut or for the privacy.com or Bunk or whatever that you use, they'll obviously ask you to like put in one master credit card, and then you have to verify that it's your credit card, obviously, and then you can distribute it across different cards. So that's how it works. But it's not like LinkedIn where they ask for your passport or your ID or something.
Damn. Twitter asked me for my passport. That's how
Oh, really?
embarrassing. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that has never happened to me for verifying. I mean, maybe it's because I use like one browser and one connection per account. So maybe they never ban it because of that.
So
Yeah,
maybe
there's
you
like a
should
whole
use a
process
VPN.
to it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would probably do that and then switch it for every account. But it is like a whole process for almost any social media, mass accounts, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, anything.
Hmm. You mentioned that you posting content on YouTube leads to better calls and everything. So what type of content do you post?
I
Sorry?
No problem. Yeah. I well, I just posted like my first video like last week. So, but
Uh-huh.
that one video has already helped me on or like what like calls and stuff. And even in the DMs, people are like, oh, you know, I don't know how to send like a good DM, so maybe Twitter isn't for me. I'll send that to them, and then sometimes they don't even watch like the whole thing, but they're like, oh, like that's a good video or like whatever, like like you must be knowledgeable, and then they have more trust. So just from like that one video, it's pretty good. I've heard from this guy who helps B2B service providers and business owners. His name's Preston or Presley something. I
Mm-hmm.
watched one of his videos and he talked about it like don't think about YouTube as like you're gonna get views to get calls booked, which might happen, which is great. But more so think about it as like each video is like an individual sales asset to counter one objection or one question or something. And that's helped me because now what each video that I have in my ideas and video bank is like one question, one objection, one problem, right?
What was the video about, the one you posted?
It was titled "What I Learned After Sending 1,000 Cold DMs." Um, yeah, that was my video title. Yeah, 1,124, some specific number.
And what did you roughly cover in it?
So it was just I just talked about like, hey, I warmed up a new account. So far it sent a total of 1,100 cold DMs. Here's what I learned from this account because that account, it got 3 calls booked in those 1,000 DMs, which is a little bit higher than normal. So I went over like why that is. First of all, we built up a good list. Second of all, it was like I talked about like value, like blah blah blah. Obviously, like check it out somewhere. It's like just like search up like my name and I'll probably be there. So yeah.
Let's say you create like 10 pieces of content for different objections and everything. Like, obviously you've not done it yet, but how do you plan on like leveraging it before the call to like clear the objections? Do you send them like the
Hmm.
entire playlist or something, or what?
Well, I've heard people say that playlists are good because then people can binge it, and then it like people like watch more. What my plan is and what I normally do is I'll see either in the DMs or maybe like on the call or on like the form or something that they might have questions or like uncertainties. So I'll normally like fill that out. If it's a price objection, I'll probably like make a video about like, oh, why, like how that you can get a 10x ROI with Twitter accounts. Or, if it's like, Twitter DMs don't work for me, here's why every B2B person is on Twitter or, whatever, right? So that's my plan where like I feel out their objections. Either they'll say it like, outright, or I'll just like feel it from like the like convo, and then I'll send it to them either before the first call or from the first call to like the second call, then I'll send it there.
Do you use Go High Level and stuff for all of
No,
this? No.
no.
Let's say there was a person who came to you and he wanted to target SaaS founders on Twitter using outreach. What would you do? Like, how would you set up everything?
But for the done
Listen,
for you, first of all, I mean, normally at least minimum 5 accounts, normally preferably 10, warming them up. And then obviously people in the SaaS space is like, is he targeting B2B SaaS, B2C,
B2B.
any SaaS, B2B, and like what is he selling to them?
Let's say something which helps with user growth or something.
Let's say SEO, right? That way more
Let's say.
he gets like more users. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So SEO, I mean, this is pretty easy because I've like done like a bunch of looms for like SEO guys for a SaaS. But number one, I would make some really good lead magnet that is quote unquote unscalable, either with software or you just hire people to make those looms, right? Or like a doc that you can like templatize very easily with Claude or something, right? Obviously, we can make it personalized with like the message because it's the AI, right? So I would do something just like I said, where it's like you would feed like the image to Gemini, then say like, oh, like your website needs this, or like some variation of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that that could work really well. People then respond saying, oh yeah, like thanks for that. You're like in the CTA at like the end. You're like, hey, I would love to talk on a call about like how that we could help you with like your landing page for SEO. You don't have to bring your credit card, blah blah blah. Like, okay, sure, because there's no risk. They send over or like I send over like the calendar, it books onto their thing. So that would be like a lead magnet approach that I would most likely take for SEO, just because it's such a good lead magnet. At least my theory that it would probably work.
And how do you find leads of SaaS founders on Twitter?
Hmm. Well, the like surface level ways of like you just scrape all of the followers of the like SaaS founder accounts. So like Jason, STR, maybe Sam Altman. I don't know, just like people just like that. But normally, I would scrape people if you're scraping followers. I would scrape people that have less than at least 50,000 followers. Like 50 to like 100,000 is like the limit because after that it gets a bit like lower quality or like people who aren't even in SaaS might just follow this guy, like Sam Altman, even though he's not like, SaaS. Like it might be like engineering students who follow him. So then it just gets diluted, right? So you find those accounts, find at least 5 to 10 of those accounts, scrape those. And then my preferred way of scraping normally for like smaller lead lists for like really good high response rates, which is what I did for that account on YouTube that I was warming up, is that you would scrape giveaways. So there's a bunch of these I found, which let's say for the SEO example, it's like, hey, comment SEO for this 48-page SEO blueprint for your SaaS, or maybe you scrape giveaways for UX design for SaaS, right? So those are still SaaS founders that want to improve that, right? But the best would be to scrape SEO giveaways, obviously, but like you get the point. You find giveaways in the niche. You scrape them using Scrapely, obviously. You scrape the followers as well. You then run campaigns with them. The followers lead list will always respond a little bit less than the commenters, depending on your message and stuff. But typically, the commenters and giveaway scraping does better than the followers.
I got my first 5 users using that giveaway
Really?
scraping.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
There's a Turkish guy, right, who does those lead giveaways.
Oh
Sent.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
there there's like a I feel like every account does like giveaways these days. Like I've seen like one where it's like AI automations and it like you must have
Mm-hmm.
seen it, right?
Comment
The
anytime.
10 workflows. Yeah, yeah, the like Machina or something. There's like a giveaway every day and there's always like a trillion like retweets. I'm
Mm.
like, what is it? I mean, it's definitely like it looks interesting. I haven't done much NA10 stuff myself just because I normally like code it on my own, but it is pretty cool.
I wanted to ask one thing. It's like you just brought up anytime. You heard of Manus, the AI agent?
Yes, yes.
Have you tried it?
No, but I've heard people or like people have told me that I should try it.
I just tried it today, and it was like 1,000 times better than the Chat GPT Pro and everything else.
Oh, really?
Like it has its own computer and it can do like live tasks like go to websites, scrape leads, everything. You just tell it. So like there was a Chrome extension I was working on for like Instagram DM, just building it out for
Mhm.
myself. And there were some errors in the code, so I just uploaded the zip file and it changed the entire code. What I'm asking
Nice.
is like this shit will get cheaper and better in the future. So how do you basically like think like Scrapely or any other software for that matter is gonna be future proof where this won't come in and it'll be like yo pay me $20 a month and I'll reach out to 10,000 people a day and personalize it.
Mm. Yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about as well because I'm like it's easier and easier to make like the tools in house. So that's one thing. Um, honestly, I don't know. I had a few thoughts where it was like either people can make it and like in house and stuff, and it works like fully, which already is like a pretty big leap from now, but it's gonna probably happen at some point. But then people will still want that done for them, right? So like they will still want like the service aspect, which is why agencies might still be able to do just fine with it. Which is why I'm a little bit more like bullish on the Scrapely agency versus like the software, just because a lot of people don't want like the whole hassle of setting that up, right?
Why didn't you include like white labeling then? Similar to
Um,
high level. Because
I
you can sell
haven't
it to
thought about that.
agencies.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. I was more so thinking about selling the software to the agencies and like they pay like the subscription.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I really haven't looked into white labeling much.
You obviously like you can sell it to them, but if I reach out to my clients and I show them like just go high level. When people see that yeah I have my own domain and branding, they just trust you more if they're paying you.
Hmm.
They think you have like an in-house school software and all.
Hmm.
Uh, what are your
Do
future
you
plans for this?
do you
Mm-hmm.
do you know how to code by the way,
Do
or
you
is
know how
it
to?
do you know how to code, or is it
Nope.
using cursor and no? Okay,
Nope.
nice.
Of course, lovable and
Yeah,
everything.
that's awesome. Yeah, and you're like getting pretty far. I saw with lead wave. Yeah,
Utilizing APIs and everything.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like you're basically like learning kind of like code as you go.
That's true though. You know, I used to hate coding and everything, but the more I started to see, the more I started to understand it.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly how it works.
What are your future plans for this? Scrapely.
Strictly, I don't know, just like get more customers, get more clients. Like I'm not thinking like a year from now. I know I saw the CTO
Mm-hmm.
Machayan of Drippy. I remember that he wrote one time he was like making Drippy or like a Twitter SaaS that is like this that is reliant on Twitter and like other problems is not like the best way to like get a funding round or for it to be stable or to make sure like you won't have to worry because Twitter can change it at any time and shut down DMs or change something and it's not very reliable, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
100% like makes sense. But my thing was more like I like this is like a stepping stone to like maybe other things in the future that I do. And I think it's good to like I like got into this because now I know like the world of B2B of outreach and stuff versus before I was in B2C and it was way different than
Mm.
what I'm doing right now. So that's how I think about it.
Damn. When you say that it'll be a stepping stone for other ventures or other avenues in life, what are like the biggest things that you want to achieve? Like
See
that being
that
on
I
top of the vision.
Yeah, I mean that I don't know. See, I say like stepping stone, but maybe
Uh-huh.
Scrapely keeps on going for 5 or 10 years, or who knows, right? So like it's very hard to say also because it's like in 5 or 10 years there'll be things like this like menace AI and different things, and not only will coders be maybe replaced or maybe only need one coder instead of 10, but probably marketers as well, right? Like there will be less need for copywriters, for people to make the ad creatives, for things like this. There will still be needing somebody, but will there be a team of 20 or a team of two is the question, right? So yeah, with like all of that, I want to say like I don't know. I just like what I'm doing right now, and it has really helped me as like skills. Like I know like Hormozy says this. He's like, if he went and like became broke tomorrow with no acquisition.com, no all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? He still has the skills of whether he's learned marketing, sales, etc., all like the business skills, so that he can still make money regardless of what happens, right? And that's kind of like what I'm thinking. Like, I know how to code. I'm learning marketing through this. I'm learning sales because I'm on calls every single day, right? With Done For You, I'm learning how to, meet client expectations, set the expectations, pricing, overcoming objections, everything that's needed in a business, right? So whether it's in business and like life as well, like sales is used everywhere, right? So um, I see it as like learning as well a lot.
Oh, that's nice. Let's say you know everything you know right now, and you had to start with just one venture, one business. Like you could just have a conversation with the 1 year old version of you. What
Mhm.
would you finally get into as a first business?
I would say probably don't listen to like the hype of like whatever everybody says is like the best like school community coaching YouTube like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Find out like what like you really like, and also like every business will most likely like have like one big problem like you have to solve, right? So, like let's say in like agency, it's like normally getting clients might not be the hardest thing, right? But meeting expectations and like the sales aspect and the fulfillment might be like the hardest part. Versus
Mm-hmm.
SaaS, the fulfillment is all automated, right? So that's like a completely different problem. Would probably be marketing and meeting and like making sure that people don't churn because of like they don't like the product or something, right? So it's like different things. Or maybe in like a school community, like I had that, I end up hating it because I don't like talking to like people for customer support. Like that's like the one thing I hate. I like coding is fun, marketing is fun, sales is fun, but customer support and like talking to like people like and like helping them and shit, like I just like didn't like it. So I think it's like since I know what I like now, I can pick the business that I can like handle the challenge most effectively because I enjoy that challenge, right? Like in SaaS and Done For You, I enjoy the challenge because it's marketing and fulfillment and sales. So it's a lot of what I like, as well as coding, obviously, because the features and stuff.
So let's say there's a person who comes to you and he wants 10 Twitter accounts for outreach. I think if he just buys directly from you, it's gonna be $500 a month for do it yourself. How much is it approximately
So,
for done for you?
okay. So for the software, yeah, I'm still playing around with the pricing, but for now, it will normally be anywhere from 3 to 500 for that. But when they want 10 accounts, I normally just push people to the done for you because anyways, they're going to be spending that money on the software or pretty close to it. They might as well just have me do like the done for you, which would then be for 10 accounts, a $500 one-time setup fee. And then I'm doing right now at least pay on results. So they only pay after that for either
Pay per
like the
call.
call bookings or the closed calls, something like that, where like we figure it out obviously like per customer on their LTV, on their churn, on their close rate. It doesn't make sense for pay per call, pay per close, stuff like that, right? Like a design agency contacted me. I'm like, well, their LTV is like massive. So if we even get them like one client, like their clients like only churn, like they said, after 8 months. So I'm like, okay, so you guys are providing like a good service. All that you guys need is like more calls. They're like, yeah, sure. So it would change based off of like different businesses, right?
So the thing I wanted to ask you was like this is a internal monologue I go through, like an internal conversation.
Mhm.
Agency does take time, obviously, the cash flow and everything is great. But sometimes I think, what if I save the hours every single day I invest into creating solutions, building a team, managing the team, into ensuring like every client is taken care of? And what if we just focus all of that time and effort into acquisition for the software, because you mentioned that fulfillment is automated? Because I remember like getting like 5 sales when I was sleeping, waking up the next day to Stripe notifications and not having to speak to
Your
anyone or something.
lead wave,
Yep.
that's
S-
awesome. Yeah.
So I'm just confused, man. So that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why I'm like I'm doing both right now, but I think eventually over time, as I get either more users for one or the other, I'm not going to be able to keep up, at least solo, doing both. It's like basically like 95% of like my whole business is like me, right? Me doing it, which is possible right now because it's software. If it was anything else, this would not work. No way, right? But obviously it's like automated. But my thing is more like there are pros and cons to both, and I was leaning towards, and probably still am right now. I'm like still like debating this, like same as you, right? It's like agency, you can get like cash, but it's like client expectations and fulfillment. SaaS, the fulfillment is automated, but fighting customer churn is just as hard, and that marketing is also not as easy as I would say, maybe agency, because this happens to me time and time again. Like you were talking about it, like in the chat, like X Feature founder gave me 60% off versus my thing is like more expensive. So I then have to like talk about like the features, blah, 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 right? So it's like feature and price competing and the churn. So there's problems on like both sides, right? It's just which problem do you want to face is kind of what I ask myself, right? And it's kind of good because we're also both, I mean, at least I think, like you have customers for your agency, it's doing well. There are people that want it, right? And then the software is also picking up speed, right? So there's kind of the like demand for both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and same thing with me, obviously. I mean, mine are almost like they're like interlinked. The software and then like the done for you is using like the software and other tools, but it's more or less very similar, right? Um, so and I get demand for both because they're similar offerings, just at different price points for different kinds of businesses, right? So because I get demand for both, I'm really like I could go with whatever. Like you could go with whatever. If you went all in on SaaS or all in on that agency, you would we would both probably make money, right? Like it's just kind of assumption that I'm making, right? So it's more like what do we want to do? Because it's like both are valid, right? So
Do you genuinely believe like the stage in which we both are in right now, like doing both, that's a smarter option compared to just sticking with one thing?
I think over time it'll be very hard to do both. I know that people do it, like the client ascension team, right? They have list kit and they have their coaching and stuff, but they're a big team, right? Like they have probably 40 plus people, 50 plus people who are, the coders, the marketers, the people on the sales calls, sales reps, etc. Right? So it's like a big team. So I think to do both, like you would definitely have to hire, right? And like you probably have people that you've hired for your agency, right? So
How does this idea sound like? I've been thinking of this, like give me a critic on it.
mhm.
Like you post content related to outbound and everything. You kind of build like some authority. And then people come to you, they ask you like this is what I'm doing. Like I said like a very low ticket thing. I started it, don't have any case studies, so that's why it's low ticket. Double the price after every sale. So it's basically like a couple of dollars, like 50 or $100. People pay that, and then I basically set up outbound systems for them. And the way I make my money is when they use softwares. So either they sign up for Go High Level or like a Twitter outreach software or something, and then I make my money from the affiliates and all. So would it be a smart idea that you set up outbound systems and everything for free, and you make your money when they use your software for it? Or is it going to be extremely unscalable?
So what it would be is that your done for you is free, they
Mm-hmm.
then pay to use the software for the done for
Yep.
you, right? Then why don't they just pay as like a one-time fee for like the done for you? Because either way, like they're gonna pay, right? It's like if I said I'll set up
Mm-hmm.
your Twitter outbound for free, but you have to pay me for the whole setup, right? So it's
Yep.
like, well, at that point, you might as well just pay like the one-time fee and then, you know, just like pay for it upfront. I've like also like thought about this. I'm like either there's like a few different ways. The done for you or like the agency is like the front end offer. Then if people are not qualified, you downsell them to the SaaS, or people come in for the SaaS and then you upsell them if they want 5 or 10 or whatever like volume discount, etc. Right to the done for you because you're like anyways you want results, which is why you are going for like the bulk discount. Why don't we guarantee you results here, right? So there's like a few different ways about, selling them, upselling or downselling.
What do you think would probably lead to the most user growth for Leadwave? Sorry, Scrapely.
Like the marketing move that would lead to the most growth.
Yeah, how many users do you have right now? Approx.
But right now I have around five paying people and more people on the trial, and they're all using a few accounts at least. I haven't like counted it up, but that's what it is right now.
So what do you think would take this to like 1,000 users or something?
Mm. Well, I think that the free trial is definitely going to help because that helps so much. Um, Second thing, obviously, like scaling the outbound. I think a big thing would be just making like more YouTube and stuff, and then obviously like the basics like I just covered is like more Twitter outreach, and then the free trial will kick in, stuff like content, but also things like either cold email or LinkedIn just to target more people, right? Although I think that will work better for the done for you, right? Because let's say like we are on LinkedIn, I connect with you, and I'm like, hey, do you want a Twitter software? You're like, probably not because I'm on LinkedIn right now. Obviously, it can work if you target them correctly, like that they use Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
but it would probably be easier if I pitch you, hey, do you want 15 calls booked, right? You're like, yeah, sure. Do you care if it's from Twitter? Probably not. As long as the calls get booked and they're qualified and they close, right? You probably don't care where they come from, right? Which is why I'm like, for the done for you offer, cold email, LinkedIn, Instagram, different things like this could work very well. For the software, I think it's more about just scaling what already works, right?
How many outbound messages did you send approx to get the 5 users?
Um, that's the thing. At the start, first of all, I didn't have a counter for like the DMs for like messages sent
Mm-hmm.
um in like the database. Like that was added I mean I should have added at the start, but it was not. But I'm gonna make my estimate. It was less than 15,000 and more than 7,000. Because from when I counted them up, just very briefly, and made like a script to like count all of the messages across the accounts, that was what it was. And at the start as well, I wasn't doing things like proper IP setups and stuff like that, and I wasn't sending as much volume because like I wasn't basically like my accounts would get like blocked for like
Uh-huh.
certain times because they like weren't verified. So like it would send like 200, then stop for like 2 days because it would be blocked. So then I would have to like reconnect them because I screwed it up in the first place. Then it would be blocked again after 2 days. So it was like very like inconsistent volume, right? But yes, it was between 7,000 and 15,000 from when I counted, and from when the script counted as well.
Hmm. I think in that case, like YouTube playlist would work well
Hmm.
because I got my first 5 in 600 or 700 DMs,
Hmm.
and I just send them like a YouTube playlist with 10 or 11 videos of different use cases of it.
Like link in like the first message.
No, I just used to say like I've built a dope software that helps you find unlimited verified B2B leads. Can I send the
Uh-huh.
link over so you can try it for free? They would
Hmm.
obviously say yes, then I would send the link to the software and then a
Hmm.
YouTube playlist like this is how you can use it. And
Oh,
people
okay.
won't use it, they would binge watch the YouTube videos and after a week they would buy.
And lead wave is more for cold email, right? Or are you thinking about expanding it?
Emails and phone numbers. Like you can get social medias as well. So you can upload a list of websites and you can get their Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. But mostly people use it for cold email and cold SMS, WhatsApp.
Do you want to scale it to like other platforms later on, or just leaving it as it is? Like, what's like the plan for it in the
How do you
future?
think lead generation could be scaled to other platforms? Like it's just for
Well,
finding the leads.
yeah, I mean, if there was a tool out there that was for everything, cold email, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, like you name it, that would be really interesting and like a full comprehensive solution, right?
For
That would be it.
sending the messages as well.
Yeah. So finding them, verifying and filtering and enriching them, and then sending. Because Clay does this, but it's only for LinkedIn and email, as I'm aware of. You can probably use it for Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
but if there was something for all of them, that was like that.
I think maybe we can do it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Then I think like there are niche specific softwares which are always going to be better than me because they just solve this one problem really freaking well. So,
Hmm.
like, I built an email verification software, a Twitter outreach software, Instagram outreach software, but they weren't great.
Hmm.
So, like, is it even worth trying to compete with people like you do only Twitter? So, does it make sense for me to compete with you or create like a complimentary service which helps people to use your platform and they can pay for both of us instead of trying to compete with you because you're going to be
Yeah.
better?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just good to do everything well, right? And it's also like, at least for business owners, I think that they would rather pay more for something that works, um, especially like at scale for their outreach or just in general, than pay like slightly cheaper for something that's like an all rounder. Like I know for XReacher, you're like I think that like I've probably gotten like 15 or 20 people who have come from XReacher and said like it did not work or like I got like a discount, but then they still use my software. And they're like, oh, like the AI messaging thing is like way better, like some other, like they like it more pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say that, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so like because I specialize like really well into this, even though it's more expensive, both for like the single account, but also like for like the bulk buying and stuff. Even though it's more expensive, like I just like stand my ground now, like in like the DMs or like on calls. I'm like, okay, cool, but like, do you want to go back to X Future or like actually get positive replies to your campaigns? And I just like stand my ground, and I'm like, okay, well, this is better, even though it's more expensive. And then people buy, right? So for me, it's all about like making it as good as possible. And if you do like generalist, it's possible, but it's hard to make it like as good as every tool combined. Because at the end of the day, a business owner will probably like shop around. And if yours is like an everything tool versus like a specialized tool, they will probably spend more money on the specialized tools, but they will like it more and get better results, right?
Yes, and Goya level gets like $60 billion funding every 4 months. So it's hard
Yeah,
to compete against them, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
So going the specialist route, building
I
something
think
which.
I could definitely be wrong. I'm always open to that and like everything, but I just think that just because from my experience, the business owners that I talk to, they've tried my competitors, obviously, Cold DMs Pro, XReacher, everything, right? And like maybe they're like watching this and they're like, oh, like we're gonna make XReacher better now or something. But for now, at least, as of like this like recording, the people that I've talked to, they're like, oh, like they're like, oh, like it's more expensive, but I'll pay, right? Because it's better, right?
Yep.
So that's like the sentiment that I get.
Gold employees shit though.
Yeah, that's
I
like
tried
the
it
like
today. Shit.
literally. I'm not joking. Everybody in the DMs has said like that same phrase. Cold DMs pro shit. Like I don't know. Like it's not like oh it's crap, oh it's bad. No, like they all like shit. It's so funny. Yeah.
It's not cloud based, I think. Yours is cloud based.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, bro, how do you even like make a product better than these companies as a solo founder as a kid? Like,
I
how
don't
do you
know.
do that?
At the start, like as I said, when I was making the software,
Uh
I
huh.
was like muscle memory. I had to like relearn like not like relearn coding, but I was like getting back into like the gist of it. And when I saw them, I'm like, okay, well, like I saw like the like one like inspiration, maybe like maybe he watched this. Is like the JN CTO guy from like Drippy. He literally made the whole software, I think, on his own, or like the V1 version of it at least, right? I'm
Hmm.
like, well, he did it, like another human did it. He's probably a better coder or something, but like I'll just like try. I'll just do it somehow. And like at the start, when I was messaging you
Hmm.
in Paris and stuff, I was transitioning it from like a little like script to something that was like usable on your phone, on the cloud, anywhere in the world type of thing, right? And when I was doing that, it was really hard. But like it sounds like cliche, but like I just like went through it knowing that like other people have done this, therefore like I can do it, right? Like other people have, you know, scraped thousands and millions of leads in their database or somewhere. Therefore, I can do it. And then I just went with that.
That's exactly what happened with me as well, man. Let's say for the next 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 120 seconds, hypothetically, everyone in the world was doing this. What's a message you want to end this with?
If you're a B2B, um, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, like, well, oh, crap, my alarm went off. What is this? It's time to have lunch. Um, what I would end it off with is like, well, first of all, thanks for the podcast. Thanks for, having me on. That's like really cool. But what I would say is that don't listen to what like everybody says is like maybe like the best or like the best way to like make money or like be successful. Everything will have a problem, but see what problem that you want to tackle the most and that like you would be fine with spending like hours in the morning or at night solving. And then if you can do that and like get behind that, you will get pretty far, I think. That's what I found for myself. It's like there will always be like a problem, so at least find the problem that you want to solve the most.
Hmm. That's more so for me, man. Because I genuinely love software. Much more than agency.
Really?
Genuinely. You know, before this vibe coding everything came out, I literally wrote it in like the what do you want from life. Do the agency shit, make some money, hire some fucking developers, then have a software.
Yeah.
Always wanted it, so thank you so much for maybe just opening my eyes.
Course, yeah.
You know what? Fuck everyone else watching this podcast. He helped me. Thank you so much
No,
for your time, man. I'm
of
sure
course,
you have
yeah.
lunch.
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
No problem, man.
Take care, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Have a nice
Peace.